fewer folks recognized than folks that passed away. It happened again recently this last quarter. So to me, remember, if you're looking at facts and data, that shows that during certain parts of the last couple of years, our population has actually dwindled. Real data. You can look at all the graphs and information, but to me, that's something that may continue to reoccur. And to share with you a little bit about the village meeting, I alluded to it this morning, and I hear that today about what it is to be not only an enrolled member, but what it is to be a Laguna. Does that mean language? I don't think anybody can say that language isn't important, but not all our membership practices are language, our traditional practices, same thing. I always point to my own family. My grandfather, he was probably one of the most fluent speakers in Laguna, but he had never went into the traditional practices until well later on in his life. And my uncle Emmett, or my grandpa Emmett shared. And so no one would ever, I would challenge anybody to tell him that he wasn't Laguna just because he didn't practice the tradition. And why I say that is because no matter where we're at, we're living on the reservation, born, raised, if we're in New Mexico or in Germany, there are a lot of folks all over the world. That tribal membership is their identity. And whatever they're doing in that community, like here in Laguna, you would hope that they're going to be part of the making it good and special, regardless of any of that. I always look forward to my mentor standing in the back, Alvin Martin. Many of you last year knew that, or know that I served in the staff officer position for the very first time. And one of the learning that I had over those 2 years was learning my language. Even before starting my first couple of classes with Alvin, I felt that I was a contributing person of Laguna. Came back to serve my people. But what I did also know that with Alvin's help, I was able to appreciate that. But 2 years later, I still believe very strongly, like many of you, that maybe are a quarter or a half or not recognized right now, that Laguna, being Laguna, is what you make of it. And you bring those special pieces together. So that's what I would offer to you, because ma'am, I think that what you brought today was very special. A lot of folks think about that. And I'll close by saying, Rich, that last night when I told my family that I was going to be coming to this presentation, my daughter had a conversation with my dad, and she was trying to get my dad to come to this session. And he was asking her, "Do you really want me to go?" And my daughter says, "Yes, because if I ever get married and you're not from Laguna, my kids will not be free." And to me, that was like, opened my eyes. I just never was brought to me like that could happen in this generation, or my kids' generation. So I with all my heart, hope that this passes with the lineage. But again, that question, do you see having it too liberal might cause it to fail by chance? Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. This has been the neat part of this process. I mean, it's definitely a lot of work, but it's been really cool to get these kind of questions and thoughts, because they're things that we're not thinking about, but we get the opportunity to share this back with the council. This commission, when we were tasked or sanctioned by the council back in 2017, early 2017, I think the first few meetings amongst ourselves was getting clear that this conversation is not about benefits, it's about money. And so even amongst ourselves we had to get through that. But to his question is that if this model is too liberal, will it create an issue when benefits become an issue, maybe leading to blockage or not passage of it? I think that comes to Evelyn's point of maybe some of those philosophical conversations. Are we going to make a decision with our pocketbook, or are we going to make a decision with this? You know, and I can't, none of us can decide that for you. Those conversations have to come out, because are we going to define benefits as money? Or is a benefit going to be belonging? And so, again, those are, I think, incredibly awesome opportunities for conversation with the community. And again, it comes back to, how do you write your constitution? Do you even need a constitution? But if we do, how do we write it in your words? What does that look like? Because those things of benefit, I think we'll definitely have some conversation about it. I think there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But I think it's going to be important as to how that gets framed. And I'll get to it when I see it. The other thing that I want to point out that he triggered thoughts on as well, back in, I don't remember the exact year, but I was serving at the time. But one of the things that happens throughout the year is the enrollment committee comes into the council to present individuals that are relinquishing their membership or becoming new members, that have an application for enrollment and those kind of things. And it was interesting, in one of those years, we were seeing a trend. I don't know, Lorraine and Elsie could probably correct me, but not correct me, but update my information. But one of the things we were seeing in those years is that you're seeing a decline in fathers establishing fraternity. So that creates an issue, right, if we're based on blood quantum. Because now that child can't claim that additional amount of blood quantum. The other, I guess, more obvious question comes as to why aren't fathers claiming their children? That's a more serious question, right? So I don't know if that trend has changed, but that impacts this kind of stuff. The other thing that I think goes back to this benefits question, but also informs at some point how we reshape our constitution. There's a book called Pueblo Railroad. You might maybe have seen it. What's interesting is that it compares Laguna and Santo Domingo Pueblo. They had the same issue, which was the railroad wanting to come through their tribal lands. They used the same tool, sovereignty. The Pueblo of Santo Domingo said, we're going to protect our way of life, all these kind of things, and here's how we want to track through. Laguna said, and some of you are familiar with the Flower of Friendship, and that was signed in 1885 by our then tribal leadership, that said, in exchange for you coming through our tribal lands, we want jobs, we want homes, we want kerosene. That's in the Flower of Friendship document. So that's where the colonies got created. Barstow, Winslow, Riverside, right, got created out. So we wanted jobs, we wanted economic well-being. Leapfrog to today, we're strong economically, but we're very fragile with our language and our culture. You look at Santo Domingo, on the other hand, very strong in their language, maybe strong in their culture too, not as strong economically. So the trade-off, same tool, same issue, different outcomes. So I say that because has the tone already been set? Not by us, but those that already came in the 1800s that made a decision that economics was more important than this side. I don't know. Is that right? Is that wrong? I don't know. I think the leadership, having served in those environments, tried to make the best decision they can with the information they have at the moment. So I don't think there was anything bad. It's just how it unfolded. So I think those are things to think about. Lastly, we're talking about data and those kind of pieces of information. You may have seen CDC, the Center for Disease Control. They had a report out maybe a couple of years back now. But it was interesting because in this report, it said this is the first generation where the parents are going to outlive their children because of young people getting diabetes and those kind of things earlier and other health issues. That was kind of alarming to see. What does that mean to membership? What does that mean to the health of our society? So I think those are things to really think about, because it all comes back to the question Councilman Riley said is, then how do we define benefits? It begins to reshape that dialogue. Oh.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kyle Martinez. It's a good topic that we got here going on. And it's a very, interesting, because this is what what we're gonna see for our future. It's kind of hard to decide what we want as people to move forward. But I just kind of want to just kind of give you guys a thought. If we choose to, if our people choose to go this route, lineage, we're gonna have to think about, this actually gives us the opportunity, to structure our way of life, not to necessarily change it, but to strengthen it. Start to better ourselves, start bettering our community, be more accepting. And there's a lot of change that's gonna come with it. And I want us to, feel like, we're not, going to be going all over the place. I want us to balance, within our economic development and our cultural values. Because, like Mr. Loarkey was saying, we're more economic development more than we are. We didn't embrace our culture as much as we should have. There's a lot of Pueblo communities that have embraced their culture, more than we have. We've lost a lot of things here in our Pueblo, and it really shows how we are today. We don't come back. There's some of us that don't come back to Laguna. Some of us just take our PCD check, and you're like, they can just take out whatever, how much they can. I don't need to go down there. That's sad. There's not enough participation in our communities. But there's, except for those, that are doing things for our community, and that can't make the time to go and to go help at the village. But for those, that are living here in the Pueblo, and they're just living off, living off our people, living off our community. They should feel like, we should at least, pay penance back into our communities. To help develop our people, help develop our communities. You see our main Pueblo at Laguna, you see it's kind of falling apart. It's the oldest village here in Laguna out of the whole reservation. It's falling apart. We as a whole community, we can all come together collectively, to reshape in our villages, to reshape who we are, and to remember and embrace. Don't be scared to embrace who you are as a Laguna person, because that's who you are. It's the identity there. Blood Quantum is not, our identity. La Nagoya, that was not who we were. Before, like he was mentioning, there was only like 6 clans. That was a small group of Laguna people. But the other Pueblos, they, had disagreements among their own people, and they came here to become, look for a better living, because we all spoke one language. At one time, there was, we didn't speak Santo Domingo Caras, we didn't speak Acoma Caras, it was all, at one time, we all spoke one language. And we all came from one place. And then all the native nations, all the different Pueblos, we all came together to help each other, to support each other, to work together. Because, without each other, we can't move forward. you know, but we embraced each other, you know, we helped among each other, we didn't push each other out, you know, we're saying, this is not our way, this is, you know, this is not what we do things, you know, but we came together, embraced each other, you know, moved forward together. But now, you know, there was things that came into our communities that pushed us, you know, to make us differently, you know, make us think differently. You know, it's the process of decolonizing the mind, and then to see the value, see the main core values of Laguna, you know, the traditional perspective. You know, there's a lot of things that we're going to have to start, you know, thinking about, because this is a big step into our next, to the future. You know, we don't really necessarily know where we're going to go, but we know we can develop it now, you know, and see, you know, that, you know, the big picture. But, you know, but that's what I was like saying. But for the men part, you know, the women, they're our mothers. They already have a lot, you know, they deal with us as the men, you know, they have to slap us in the head, you know, if we get out of sight, you know, but you know, us as the men, you know, we have to come back to the villages, you know, we can't just simply say, you know, pick out, you know, I don't want to go down there like I was mentioning, you know, I can't, you know, take out my PCD check. I don't care, I don't have to go down there. There's a lot of men, you know, there's a lot of men that say that, and there's a lot of men that do not come down to our villages to help us. And you ever see at public work, you see at ditch work, and you know what, ditch work is a lot of work, guys, you know, and I'm sure, you know, some of you know what it is about. And you know, it could take you like 2 days, you know, if you only have like 10 men there, you know, whereas a long time ago, you know, the whole village went, all the village men, they all came down, and then all the women, they cooked everything, you know, cooked the food, you know, for the men to at least, you know, get some energy back, because that's a lot of work, you know. But we didn't, you know, they didn't complain, you know, that was our way of life. But we became too progressive. We became too progressive, and we devalued our way of life. Now, you know, we have to start turning that back around and to balance our way of life, balance, you know, progressiveness and our ways of life. So, you know, just think about it, you know, really think about, you know, this is the big step, this is the next thing, you know, this is going to affect all of us, it's going to affect everybody, it's going to affect our future. You know, this is the opportunity to strengthen our ways of life, you know, to bring things back to our community, you know, like the Ukikumish, you know, we lost those long ago, and you know, and it's just like a fairy tale. Some of these things are all fairy tales, you know. But they were once here at one time. And so to remember, you know, who you really are inside here. That's the main thing is in here, your heart. If I want to your heart, to remember who you are as a human. Hannah?
We're going to take the last two comments here, and then we're going to transition into the last piece of the day, so we can I'll try to be as close to 2:30 to get you guys out of here. It was a good part of your day, and so we want to try to get your day back as soon as we can.
Hi, my name is Rachel Lance. My grandmother is Evelyn. And I really appreciate the work that you've been doing with the youth, and it really speaks to me and what my struggle has been. This is not a struggle that is only for what you think of as little children. This is a struggle for adults as well, who have struggled with their own identity. And what it is for me is that I grew up in this home. We are not traditional at home. We speak English at home. We have never incorporated that language into our home because of everything else that goes on. And yes, we are too progressive. We live in Albuquerque. We have different jobs and different lives. And I work with children. I work in education. And I'm also in school full-time myself. But growing up, I've always come to the dances. I've never been questioned when I go to dance about my identity and who I am, except when I was little. Because I remember being little and going out to dance and I'd be asked, "Why are you here? You're white." And then at school, I went to a year-round school, and my friends would ask me, "Well, who are you? What are you?" And the answer is Laguna, because that is who I am. I go to dance every year. This is how I pray. This is how I think, and this is who I belong to. This is my family. And in my efforts to become a member, I only had pushback. So I would volunteer with my grandmother, I would work, and that made me feel good about who I am and who I help and what I would do. But I remember trying to go to a class to learn Laguna. And unfortunately, again, life gets in the way. I work, I go to school, I have a spouse that I live with. Life goes on. And I was really excited. I remember there was a phone app that came out where you could start to learn Laguna. And my grandmother was excited, my mother was excited, my uncle was excited. And I was, "Great, what is this thing? How can I join?" And, pardon me, I'm so sorry. And the requirement to do this was to put in your member number. So, as a child who wants to be a part of this community and wants to have this identity acknowledged not just by myself and by my immediate family, it felt very betraying to have this line in front of me. And I know this is going to be the struggle that isn't just for me. It is going to be the struggle that every little kid has growing up, is that you will start to see a whole population, a whole generation that is not going to be able to look at home and declare it as home. And who's going to be told that, "Oh, no, you don't belong because you're not enough." And I understand that there are worries about the financials and the repercussions of what will happen if we devalue our blood of how much we are. But when you think about these children growing up, I don't understand the need to tell children that they have no home, because that is what you are telling them. Because growing up for me, I did not identify as white. I never met my biological father. That's not part of who I was. I remember having school projects where you're supposed to draw yourself, self-portraits, as a little girl, and I absolutely avoided them because I did not want to use a light crayon just because that's what the skin tone of my skin. That's just how it's the color of my skin. I would draw my mother. I would sneak it in. I would draw it a little darker. They would ignore that for a few, and then I'd put the glasses on, and all of a sudden it's my mom. I didn't have glasses when I was a kid. It's just, but these are little funny things that impact you, and when you're a teenager, you rely on your peers for identity. But when you have no peers, where does your identity come from at that age? It isn't until you are an adult before you can become your own. But as a teenager, it is your peers who identify you. And we need to give this generation a place to call home and a place to have peers.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
You know, I think she really expresses something as to why this work is so very important for all of us. You know, I think it goes to remember whose question about Orion. He made the comment about how we identify as the group, and her desire to learn the language. She shared that story a little bit with me earlier, and I told her you ought to share that because something something that's useful like the POV website, you can't use it unless you have a number. So we define ourselves by a number. You know, it's probably an unintended consequence, but that comes back to the question of how do we belong. And this whole work about not excluding people, but to be inclusive. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, we'll go back to it. Okay, we're going to take one more, the last one, because we need to wrap up.
This is just an observation I made from a couple of years ago. We went to Acoma and we visited their museum there. And they had an exhibit and it had the elders in there and talking about life at Acoma and stuff. And I remember my brother and I left and it was like, God, that's depressing. All they did was bitch and moan about the kids and how useless they are. And it's like, I remember thinking, well, if they're so useless, what? You didn't do your job as elders. I mean, it's like, these people, and I don't want to see that at Laguna. I don't want to walk into a cultural place in Laguna and go, God, that's depressing. What a bunch of old biddies. I mean, I really don't. And so, it's like, I looked at the Acoma one, it was like, well, all you're doing is bitching and moaning about the young people. You're not doing anything about it, so you're just part of the problem. And I do not want to see that at Laguna, and I see it a lot here because I was discriminated too again when I come here. Because I'm half white. And when I come out here to do things with, see people, it was like, what are you doing here? And I'd say, I'm from here, and they'd go. Some people go, oh, okay, sorry. And others like, I'm just gonna walk away. So I don't deal with the ones who just walk away because I'm not worth their time, so I guess they must not be worth mine. And that needs to stop, both ways. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And these are incredibly wonderful comments and feedback that you're providing us and very helpful. Like I said, I think the value that we get from this is hearing these comments. We're in Barstow, and as well as the Hubilans conference in November, the meeting last week, this week. It's very interesting, the different themes that we see from the different groups that come through. It's been really great. Gracie, I have a question because we're going to wrap up here.
Is it time for community friends?
We're finishing that piece now.
Okay. It's just a thank you.
Okay?
They said there was flowers from I'm Grace Thompson, and I belong to the Sinner clan from my father, Pop Bunny, and Johnny Washington from Sanai. Anuska. We had our village meeting the other night, and at that time we were informed by acting Diapisha, which David Martinez, that this session was going to take place here at the casino, and some of us weren't informed about it. So he just said that he gave us that information. And if some of you village members were present, you recall that I asked, or I questioned it. I said that our last forum over at the Route 66, there was quite an attendance, and it was very informative. Now we need a feedback. We need a survey. What really, came up after that forum, and because it was well presented, and I believe it was a one-day session. I can't recall, but we learned about our Kawai Commission. So there was no answer to that from our Kaya Bishop. But now we know, and I would just like to Jawaya Committee for presenting that. Mafra Jawatra is where we belong. And we hope from now that we will carry on our tribal membership, our clan, our beliefs, our traditions. And Jawai Governor Luarki inspired Dale from Siam. You've been spotted too? You know, Jawai Grande. The two back there, Jawai. Amuma Jawai Grande. That was very, very impressive. Jawai. Was got to now I know Jawai Grande, so I can say committee. So Governor Luarki Tuahoso Grande, Jawai for the meal that was a good garbage. The coffee for some of us, our coffee away from say, oh my,
Thank you, Grace. Thank you, everybody, again for the comments. Very deep thoughts, emotional, practical, helpful to us. Thank you. So at this point, we're going to transition into the final stage here, and we're going to ask you to do a little bit of work for us to help us document this conversation and what we're going to take back to the council. So let me just walk you through what our process is. So you've seen the number one, the box there, that's what we just finished. We've given you the backdrop. We've asked you to consider, what we've provided as the lineage model. Now we want to get your words. So we're going to give you 20 minutes, and the two tables here, this is one group. 2 tables here, this is another group. 2 tables here, this is another group. And the last 2 tables here, that's a group. What we want you to do is take 20 minutes and share some specific stories of when you have most felt a part of the tribe. What's made you feel strong about Iwangi? And we're not talking about money, we're not talking about metrics. What allows you to feel proud about being Laguna? So, and the reason we're giving you 20 minutes, and you'll see on here the time frames are short, is that we're not asking you to sit and ponder and come up with a novel. Just what's in your gut, what's in your heart, bring it out. What comes to mind? So, in this first one, we want you to tell us what it's meant to belong. What we're going to do after that is, then we're going to ask you to take 10 minutes as to, from these stories that you come up with, what specific contribution did Belong make to the lives of others or to your life? It goes to what somebody said earlier of borrowing Kennedy's words of what can you do for your country, right? And so what has it allowed you to contribute to? And we're not looking for a whole story here. It's something as simple as it's allowed you to be a part of family. It's allowed you to participate. It's allowed you to connect. Very simple. Then we're going to ask you what the impact has been. What's your story? What has belonging allowed you to contribute to? And what's been the impact? By belonging and having a sense of place, home, what has this allowed for our people to go on and do or be? And you can apply that to yourself. You know you have home. You have place. What has that allowed you to become? Once we finish that piece, we're going to take those 3 pieces, and then we're going to draft a statement that we're going to share back to the council. We're going to ask you to describe the world you would like to see for our people. That's your impact. And articulate the actions we need to bring it to life, contribution. So that's what we're going to go through here in a fairly short amount of time. And the groups that we've done this with, by the end, they're pretty wiped out because it's mental. But we're going to ask for your help in this, because this is the way we're going to try to capture your voice. So that being said, the groups, let's start on number 1. share some specific stories as to what's made you feel most a part of the community. You can just write some bullet points down, then I'm going to ask you, I'll let you know when it's 5 minutes, put that into your group story. Okay? So, are you all ready? Do you understand what we're asking of you? Okay, go on. Okay, so let's go. Number 1, the clock starts now.
Where's the school teacher?
Little ones in my house. No, they think I feel I feel really privileged.
You can be the teacher. Okay, so the first one is share some stories of when you felt most apart.
When you talk, don't just talk. Stand and talk.
I was talking. Apart makes you feel like
Sorry. We're all saying that my more.
I want to share a story because those of you guys who know me, you know my mom's Anglo and my dad's Mexican. But growing up, we were always made fun of because we lived with our white brother on the reservation. Then we moved to Arkansas.
Makes you
My very first day, the teacher in my math
feel
class says, "You're acting like
like you
a bunch of wild
belong."
Indians." And then she stopped. And she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." So then it was like, "Oh, you're an Indian. You're a wild Indian."
What makes you
So there was always that conflict
want to
about
be
identity.
involved in
I'm
order
being
to
raised
belong
Baptist. I remember very clearly I was 16 years old.
a group called the Laguna Pueblo.
Yes. And they
I wrote down a few things,
But
about
I
7
was
things
raised
that I
Baptist,
think
and I